This year, between year 2 and 3, has been the first real full year of my son being a productive French speaker.
C'était le carton. Maman avait ça.
Non, c'était pas moi, c'était quelqu'un d'autre.
Tu vas voir un bar. Quand tu manges pas, tu vas être fat. Qu'est-ce qui va se passer? Je me craquement de feuilles.
Oh, moi aussi.
Sauf que les feuilles sont orangées. Et tous les fleurs sont... Et les dents de lion sont jolies.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Live Your Language, tips and inspiration for your bilingual life. I'm Stephanie, a PhD student in second language acquisition and a mother to 2 children that I'm raising bilingually in my non-native language French. This video is a video that I'm so excited about. This is my update video. I try to do one of these every single year in the spring. First, I'm going to give a couple general thoughts about the year, and then I'm going to break it down by the 3 languages that we have in our house right now. So the first real takeaway I have for the year is that I really feel like I'm finally embracing my identity as a parent who is raising her children to be bilingual rather than just some like language fanatic linguist that is just so crazy about languages that she's doing this crazy thing with her kids. I think that part of the reason that this attitude shift has happened is partially because I now have a productive French speaker, and also just the fact that I've been able to see that there are so many other people out there who are doing the same thing as me, and that there's actually like a little bit of a community there. I mean, I'm reading books about it. I am speaking with other parents who have, who are ahead of me in the journey and who are having success. And I think that this has really helped solidify my identity as a parent who is raising a bilingual child. The second thing that I'm kind of taking away this year is that I have to accept that my kids will eventually surpass me. I think up until this point, mainly because I've been the primary source of French for my children, mainly I'm speaking about my oldest who just turned 3, just because all of his input really had come from me, so I knew that everything he was producing was really from his time with me. But now I'm finally reached a stage where I kind of had to accept that, I am imperfect and I just really need him to be around people who are native speakers just so that he can acquire the language a lot better than I have. We have met our goals. Our goals for the year were to introduce French as our language and to have it really be established, and that's definitely something that happened. Another goal that we have was to give my son access to a native French speaker, which we did when we hired an au pair.
Et le train va partir. Ah, c'est parti!
And the third goal that I really had for this past year was to introduce Spanish and to figure out how to do that. So let's start with the newest language we have, and that is Spanish. My goal with Spanish originally was to prepare my son to get him familiar with Spanish and to really start associating positive experiences with Spanish in preparation for him to attend a Spanish immersion preschool that is just in our town. We originally thought that he would be starting this spring, but now that we have an au pair and things have kind of changed, we're kind of looking at pushing that further down the line, maybe when he turns 4 or closer to school age. I have not anticipated being the sole source of his Spanish input from a communicative sense. So right now we're just having fun and just easing into the language and introducing him to Spanish that way. Now I do speak Spanish, but it's definitely a little bit rusty. It's coming back the more that I introduce to my son. But because he's already speaking, things are a little bit different for us, so we can use French to speak about Spanish, and that's what we've been doing. So that said, let's talk about how I'm doing this. So the first thing that I've really done for introducing Spanish is the context. So I originally had my eyes on breakfast time, but now that we have a second child, things are just so unpredictable and it's kind of like a race to the clock until my son gets tired. So we haven't really had much time to focus on Spanish at breakfast time. So that's really shifted to our playtime together after my son goes down for his first nap. What my oldest son normally wants to do is to play trains. I actually have an alarm in my phone that goes off every day around the same time, around like 10:30 or 10:45 when my son is asleep. And it kind of prompts me to just stop and look at what we're doing and try and see if I can translate that in Spanish and then talk to my son about it. I find this to be a really simple way to ease back into the language and just to have fun, and my son seems to enjoy it too. I wanted to show you a little bit of how we're approaching Spanish in a more organized, formal way in the morning. This is just a supplement to what we normally do. I'm teaching Spanish through French, so my interactions with my children are all in French, but when we talk about what we're learning, I will mention the words and I'll say them in Spanish. Combien de cantos y a-t-il?
Un, deux, trois.
Oui, un, deux, trois.
Parce que c'est toi.
Un, deux, trois.
Un, deux, trois.
En espagnol, c'est uno.
Dos, tres.
Très bien.
Tres. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Quel est en espagnol?
Bonne question. Je vais chercher. And this is part of our morning routine, and we're just working through the alphabet. A really great morning binder from Mama Llama Linguist, so shout out to her and her materials. You'll be hearing more about this in one of my later videos. The other context that we're really introducing Spanish in is actually a person, and that is my father. So I mentioned in a previous video that he's fluent in Spanish, and I asked him early on if he would mind being a source of Spanish input for my son, my oldest, and he gladly obliged, and he's really embraced that that request from me, which I'm so thankful for.
Maíz, manzana, broccoli, lechuga.
We just started really small, just by hello and how are you? And now every time my dad calls and he talks with my son, they automatically start in Spanish and just have maybe like a 15 to 30 second exchange in Spanish. You know, hi, how are you? What are you doing? So I'm really happy about that. You know, it's not much, but it's definitely really fun. And another thing that I think is really cool about this is that there's also that language-person connection that is coming into play. What I mean is, for example, in the car one day, just because I've been trying to like get more in tune with Spanish, I put on some Spanish music, like some just Spanish music of our local station. And my son actually asked me to turn it off, and when I asked him why, he said, no, that's the family language. And I probed a little bit and tried to figure out what he meant, and he said, no, that's a language for his grandfather. You know, we speak in French. So he wanted French music with me, and he wanted to listen to that Spanish music and speak Spanish with his grandfather. All that to say, I think that our introduction to Spanish is going really well, and the next goal that I have is just to find a community event or a group or some sort of way that he can see Spanish a lot more frequently and maybe do it in a fun context. So the other thing that I've really done is we have songs that we really have embraced in Spanish. The first is the Wheels on the Bus in Spanish, which he loves and will spontaneously sing anytime. And I really latched onto this because he loves that version in English and in French. The other songs that we really love, the Basho and Friends Spanish songs, so I'll put a link below to that, but he just loves all the songs on that CD. And as far as books go, I went to the library and I found books about things he loves, which are trucks, cars, anything that goes really. So I grabbed a couple books about trucks, fire trucks and trash trucks, and he has absolutely loved them. They were super simple and he just wanted to read them over and over and over again. So I found this to be another really great way to kind of use what he already loves and expand into something new. So I would definitely recommend that if you're trying to do the same thing.
Qu'est-ce que tu parles comme langue?
Tu parles français?
C'est tout?
Oui.
C'est tout ce que tu parles?
Oui.
Est-ce que tu parles anglais aussi?
So now let's talk about French. This is by far his most dominant language. It's the language that we use all the time, and now he's been a productive French speaker for over a year. I find this to be an incredible success. I love that he speaks French to me all the time, and I love having a partner to speak with. It's really wonderful. I'm really pleased with his development in this language. And now that we have an au pair and we're getting another au pair that speaks French soon, this summer, I hope. So I just hope that his development can really continue that way. So if you watched my last video about the au pair, you knew that I was deciding between Spanish and French. Well, I actually settled on French, and that wasn't because of my oldest, but actually because of my youngest. His dominant language isn't really set yet, and I really wanted French to be that dominant language, that first language, and the language that he speaks with me. I didn't want to throw in a brand new language before at least one of them kind of had become established. So that's why we're going to wait on Spanish for now. But I'm definitely pleased with French, and I have a bunch of clips of him speaking French, which, by the way, I think are from before our au pair, so if you wanted to compare, you can do that. Our next goal with French is really to show him French in a community context and to show that it's not just mommy's language, but actually there are a bunch of people and there are places where you go and everyone speaks French. Sorry, somebody just woke up from the nap, so I had to take a little break. So the third language I wanted to talk about is English, of course. When I realized that French was becoming dominant, I really wanted to know how would his English be. A year ago, his English was definitely a lot lower than his French. But now I can say that I'm actually starting to see little hints, small hints, but nevertheless hints, that English is becoming his more dominant language. For instance, the other day I noticed that he actually started with the English and had to translate into French to complete a sentence for me. So I think it was oatmeal or something. He said it in English and then he had to like go, oh no, I mean, you know, the French word. And I was kind of taken aback because normally it's the other way. Like he'll start in French and it's with my husband that he's got the interference in that direction. I know, and I hear all the time that eventually English will be his dominant language, try as I might. So it's something that I just have to accept, but I didn't think that it would be starting so soon. So that's something that I'm going to keep an eye on. The other thing that I thought was really interesting about English is because there's no aspirated H sound in French, I was kind of curious about how the H sound would manifest in English. It's kind of gotten a little better, but there was definitely a time in there where his H sound was like over accentuated and clearly difficult for him. I'll put in a clip to show you guys what I mean.
Where does that one go?
Wait here, wait here, here, wait. Here.
This could be heard with words like here, how are you? It was definitely not native, like, so I'll just keep an eye on that. And also another thing that I noticed as far as conversations go is that probably about 6 months ago or so, he was really struggling to have a conversation, especially in English. You can see that with this example of an exchange between him and my husband, where he's just basically repeating the question that my husband says.
Hey, bud, what did you do today?
What did you do?
Yeah, you having a good day?
Did you have a good quiet time?
You haven't had quiet time yet. What have you done today?
What have you done?
Uh-huh.
What have you done?
Yeah, what have you done today? Did you play games with Daddy?
However, now he can actually have an actual conversation in French and in English.
Why'd you do that for the carpet, buddy?
Nothing. You're just redoing it. You're just redoing it. Mama, could you put it up?
No.
Mommy said no.
You do it. You said you were gonna do it.
Why Mommy said no?
These are just a couple of things I've noticed. He's definitely got a little accent in English and I think it's really cute, and I know it's going to fade, but I also want to make sure that I record that. So here are a couple clips of him speaking English.
You gonna like that? The fire will go out.
That will go away.
And to do it together.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Okay everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. This is a video I really look forward to every year just because I love marking our progress and especially looking back and seeing just how far we've come. It'll be really interesting to see what progress we've made in the year, and also my second son will be speaking by then, so that'll be very exciting. Thank you so much for following our journey, for supporting us, for the comments and the questions. I really appreciate it, and please definitely check back in a year to see where we are. Okay, thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.